Moon, a mirage reflection of the Earth's surface, contends a guy. So this is from a newspaper thing in the Bridgeport Sunday Post in 1964. Supreme year, 1964, way back in the day. This is 5 years after 1959, as you know, with NASA and all that stuff, and 5 years before the Apollo moon stuff. Apollo missions, as you know, in those days, there were still intelligent people. You see, even though it's 1964, it says moon, a mirage. When you say mirage, the same thing as, hey, vibes of cosmos today in the 5 digital books, electromagnetic reflection from the black sun, reflection of Earth's surface. Now, unfortunately for us, this guy back in the 60s, he was still living on the spinning ball Earth with curved water. He didn't understand this whole thing about the electromagnetic fields, which forms that elliptical or like sphere type shape, and he was still believing that the Earth is a ball spinning in space. But at least he went as far as to agree that the moon is not solid rock. And then he actually criticized the NASA and the astronauts and stuff, saying that, hey, you're not going to land on anything because it's just not possible. It's nothing solid. And he did say that the Russians know this. Back in 1964, he declared, let me check this whole thing. So he started saying that a House Space Subcommittee in Congress has started a detailed probe of why the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, so NASA, has been unable to get close-up pictures of the moon despite this nation's, America, USA, expenditures of $250 million to accomplish this objective since 1959. So this was written in 1964, and it was like 6 years already, 5-6 years of wanting to accomplish something, right, with this whole thing with the moon. And then this amateur scientist in Monroe says NASA has failed because the moon does not exist as a physical object. It is only a reflection of the Earth, content, and the oceans. And then stating that he did 8 years of photographs, maps, charts, and articles on the Earth and the skies. Mirror in atmosphere, vibes of cosmos. And this, of course, comes in the Vedas as well. Mirror in the atmosphere. Then this whole thing, he says that the reflections of the continents, Asia, Africa, Australia, the Soviet Union, and China. And of course, you're going to see it slightly different if you're in America or in the Soviet Union or in Russia in this case, right? And water shows white and the land black. The same as we see in the books of the Vibes of Cosmos. The white stuff is water and the black stuff is solid continents. Of course, we have then the Pangea continents and the Germans where they went after the Second World War and stuff like that. And also the fact that why he states something about this American-Russian race. He said that he actually tried to get to Congress at Washington, but nobody accepted him to go to Congress in Washington and the president for him to say that the moon is not physical rock. Of course, how would you accept it? Afterwards, in 1969, we have the whole thing with NASA and the Apollo missions. He said that he wanted the taxpayers to save the taxpayers from paying $5 to $20 billion in this whole thing. Let me see if I can get this text about Russians. I think there was something that the Russians. She says something about the Russians have stopped with the moon race to put a man on the moon because the Russians in Russia declared in their circles of scientists that the moon is not a solid rock and it's impossible to land on it. Not sure if I can. I don't see it here. If you have a 60 and if you too complicated to understand and dissertation, find most of the hopeless hodgepodge. Yeah. Let us see here, officer. He says there is some. There's like Mr. Bodnar says that he cites that the recent pronouncement of former President Eisenhower urging further moon probes before a landing is attempted, and Russia's lack of interest in the project to support his contention. The Russians are exceedingly clever and also conservative. He observes they must have an extremely good reason for canceling their original intention to race us to the moon. This was posted in 1964. So that's the reason why in Russia and the Soviet Union, they didn't do all this stuff in 1969 with like the moon and with Kennedy. And I mean, in the end, it's just, and everybody knows because there's no, if you go to a civil court and if you would try, that's why nobody goes to a civil court with these things or with the shape of the earth, because you would win the case. You know, when you say that the moon is not solid rock, they would give you the win. You would win because everybody knows that the moon is not solid rock and everybody knows that the earth is not a spinning ball with curved water. But that's the world we live in. It's a world of, and remember, like YouTube went to the American Congress. I think it was in 2018 or something, or 2019 or 2017, and the American Congress asked YouTube, "What are you going to do about all these videos that show the reality of the real world?" They said flat Earth, but you don't have to say that if you don't want to. And the YouTube rep said, "Well, we're gonna change the algorithm and the artificial intelligence, and we're gonna put like Wikipedia boxes." And what they did is that now you make a video about these topics, and the system does not ban you, because there's no reason for you to be banned unless someday the whole system is going to change and everything is going to be like banned by law, which could happen. But for the moment, you just get pushed down. You get pushed down with your videos, so your videos don't appear on the first page, therefore nobody watches them. And that's one of the reasons why people got depressed in the end and don't make any more videos, because if before you would be watched by 500,000 people or like 1 million people, and now you get watched by 5,000 people, then it makes, of course, for a lot of depression mode. No. The only thing with this guy, Mr. Bodnar, his attempts were awesome, but I do understand him in the end, because this is like in the 1960s. Imagine even in those days with no internet, with no TV, primitive days, only with like articles and stuff that was written, and he still got to good conclusions, even though he didn't want to leave the spinning ball Earth with curvature. And I also remember, like, that interview in black and white, I think it was like on CB News, Australia, that scientist who also, this was like exactly before the Apollo moon missions, and the scientist gave an interview, and then the reporter asked the scientist, "So what do you think about the moon?" And he said, "Well, the moon is not something physical." And then the reporter said, "Well, but NASA is going to take the man to the moon soon with the Apollo missions." And the guy started laughing and stuff. And he was a PhD scientist. He was an academic. But I mean, how many academics today, they just go to work like any other normal mortal, and then you get to the age of 65 or 70 or whatever, if you live that long, and you get retired, and that's it. You just have a normal life. So being an academic doesn't mean that you're going to be famous. It just means that you have your own tiny room in that university, and you do your stuff, you live, you get paid, and that's it. So you get what I'm saying. If you try to make articles which are like totally valid and scientific, yes, you're allowed to publish them, but nobody's gonna come to your door and say, like somebody from CNN or the BBC or like the news or like the famous television network or something, or the internet, to post you and to give you credit. You're only gonna be given credit if you respect those who are in power, and the money system, and usury and debt slavery, and the banking system, and the pharma system, and all that stuff. So yeah, hey, applause. Now let's continue living our simple lives.
On the alarm, we've been distracted. Guys, I'm not playing, and this is not a drill. It's time to start preparing food, water, etc. Sources say China will invade Taiwan in early June, and it gets much worse than this, and global press is a very trusted source. Now the insane part, early June, probably sooner. Right this minute, China literally has Taiwan completely surrounded in the Taiwanese Strait and the Pacific Ocean. Again, completely surrounded. This is both military boats and military planes. Why? Well, this screenshot alleges serving as punishment for the Separation Act of Taiwan. Punishment. And also warning of interference and provocation by external forces like us. But wait, that's not all. We literally have a standoff happening right now between Taiwan and China. No wonder for the King's portrait and the Diddy bullcrap. Makes sense now, right? Get ready.
This is my first.
Su Wushu in Dong Yin, the theater command said, attaching a map depicting time exercise zones surrounding Taiwan Island. Captain Li Shi, senior captain, spokesperson for the People's Liberation Army Eastern Theater Command, said that military services, including Army, Navy, Air Force, and Rocket Force of the Theater Command, are being organized to conduct the joint drills, codenamed Joint Sword 2024A, from May 23rd to May 24th. So here you have the overall what it looks like as we saw already. The drills focus on joint sea-air combat readiness patrols, joint seizures of comprehensive battlefield control, joint precision strikes on key targets, Lee said, adding exercises involve the patrol of vessels and planes closing in on areas around the island of Taiwan, and integrated operations inside and outside the island chain to test the real joint combat capabilities of the command's forces. So this is bad news for the United States because, the United States is preparing for a war with China on the first island chain. And China is showing that it is quite prepared to mobilize very fast in a matter of days to test out its capabilities. That's something the United States cannot do. You will never see a military operation, even in the South China Sea or wherever the United States is, that can be done so rapidly. Most of the exercises the United States coordinates with the squad or the quad or whatever it is, those exercises are scheduled far in advance and take a lot of preparation before they can even be launched. So even just on the readiness aspect of this, it's bad news for the United States. Lee said the drill serve as strong punishment for the separatist acts of Taiwan independence forces and a stern warning against interference and provocation by external forces.
China is een spierballen aan Taiwan. Een militaire oefening van de wereldmacht. Die komt niet toevallig en zou een oefening zijn om Taiwan in te nemen. We gaan dit bespreken met onze China-correspondent Rut van der Kolk. Ja, Rut, wat zeggen Chinese militaire experts over de oefening?
Ja, die zou van veel groter formaat zijn dan vorige oefeningen. Want al jarenlang is het natuurlijk wel bekend dat het Chinese leger heel actief is in de buurt van Taiwan. Maar dit keer gaat het dus om tientallen straaljagers en schepen om het eiland te omsingelen. Dus via land en zee en in de lucht. En volgens deskundigen gaat het dus niet alleen om de grote aantallen, maar is het leger ook dichterbij dan ooit. Dus je kunt je voorstellen, er zijn verschillende Taiwanese eilandjes, wat kleiner dan het eiland zelf. En die liggen ook wat dichter bij het Chinese vasteland. En daar komen de Chinese schepen ook veel dichterbij dan voorheen.
Ja, dus het wordt steeds een beetje gaan steeds een stapje verder, zeg maar.
Ja, precies.
Ja. Is er nog iets te zeggen over de schaal van de oefening of de tactiek, over dat het de grootste oefening ooit is?
Ja, ik las in Chinese media dat het leger zich op verschillende punten van het eiland richt. Dus op het noorden, in het zuiden en ook in het oosten van Taiwan. En daar zit dus ook een betekenis achter. In het noorden ligt dus ook de hoofdstad Taipei, waar de Taiwanese autoriteiten zijn gevestigd en ook de nieuwe president Lai, die deze week is aangetreden en waar Beijing dus zo kwaad over is. En in het zuiden ligt een van de grootste havens van het eiland. En ook in het oosten liggen daar verschillende havens, maar is er ook belangrijke militaire infrastructuur. En om juist deze plekken dan te omsingelen, daarmee wil China aan de buitenwereld wel laten zien van wij hebben de controle over Taiwan.
Ja, en voor wie het niet heeft gevolgd, hè? William Lai, de nieuwe leider van Taiwan. Wat maakt het dat China zo geïrriteerd raakt over hem?
Ja, William Lai die wordt ook wel gezien als een onruststoker en als een separatist. Zo hebben de autoriteiten in China hem ook letterlijk genoemd toen hij de verkiezingen won in januari. En ja, zij zien zelf Taiwan als eigen grondgebied, als afvallige provincie. En dat er een lokale leider, zo noemen ze hem dan ook, separatistische trekken vertoont. Ja, daar zijn ze het echt absoluut niet mee eens.
Ja, en zo'n legeroefening is dan een gevolg van. Maar is dat dan heel erg om aan het eigen volk te laten zien van wij maken geen grappen, of is het vooral echt richting de wereld gericht?
Ja, ik denk dat China het zelf zo ziet dat ze vinden dat Taiwan en de VS de grens opzoeken door deze nieuwe leider nu naar voren te schuiven. En dat ze op deze manier deze oefeningen ook zien als een manier om het te kunnen rechtvaardigen dat ze de soevereiniteit van China kunnen waarborgen. Dus ik denk niet dat ze het zelf zien als een soort manier om de VS uit te kunnen dagen of iets dergelijks. Ik denk dat ze het zelf framen als een soort bescherming van hun eigen soevereiniteit.
So even just on the readiness aspect of this, it's bad news for the United States. Lee said the drill serve as strong punishment for the separatist acts of Taiwan independence forces and a stern warning against interference and provocation by external forces. The exercises by the PLA came after Lai, the new regional leader on the island of Taiwan, made an inaugural speech on Monday in which he stubbornly adhered to Taiwan independence, loudly propagated the fallacy of secession, incited confrontation and antagonism across the Taiwan Straits, and expressed his intention to rely on external force to seek independence and seek independence by force. Quote, rely on external forces to seek independence, and quote, to seek independence by force. Since then, U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's provocative visit to the island in August 2022, the PLA has organized several rounds of large-scale military exercises as countermeasures to provocations by Taiwan independent secessionists and their collusions with external forces, in addition to holding regular patrols and training exercises in the region.
We all have questions.
Joy to boat.
My name is Stephen Hawking, and I believe that anyone can answer big questions for themselves. So with the help of a few ordinary people and a team of experts,
where you are changes how we see the universe.
Anyone can think like a genius. I've asked 3 ordinary people to come on a journey of discovery. And I want to see if they can grasp the true scale of the universe.
Where are we?
That's a really good question.
We're on Earth.
In my solar system.
In the Milky Way.
That's where I'm at.
But how do we know for sure? The volunteers don't know it, but they are going to find out the size and shape of the world right here in Nevada. The first step is to measure our planet. How flat is this lake?
How do you measure a flatness of a lake?
With a huge ruler. Or
Yeah, she has a point though. You need something that you know is flat to measure the surface of the water against.
Yeah.
Today we'll use lasers and all kinds of technology. This is what science is about. It's about inventing new ways of investigating nature, looking for facts, looking for measurements, and come with results which are astonishing.
This lake holds the secret to the size and shape of the Earth. To help them, they need a few tools.
2 feet, 7 inches.
First is a powerful laser, which projects a straight beam of light across the surface of the lake. Next, they'll need a boat.
Whoa, just pass through it.
Joy to boat.
This is Cat, over.
If the lake is flat, the laser beam and the water will always be parallel to each other. Seen from a boat, the beam would always stay at the same height above the water, no matter how far you travel into the lake.
We're looking for the laser beams so that we can mark it on the whiteboard.
And we made the first measurement.
A little more to the right.
Almost there. Here we go.
They take their first reading 500 feet from the shore.
Okay. Got it.
For the next measurement, they'll need to go much further out.
Okay, so now I need to go up 3 miles away from the laser.
All right.
Awesome.
So 3 miles away, where is the laser beam?
Kat, you have to go slightly to the left.
You said go slightly to the left? Yeah.
Here we go.
Remember, if the lake is flat, it would be the same height as before.
We made the second measurement, and my whole world fell apart. It's like 6 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just 3 miles away, the laser seems to have risen by 6 feet. But we know the beam is level.
Perception is still it's a flat lake, but
So it's not a flat lake.
it's not a flat lake.
That was crazy. I was definitely blown away by the fact that the laser was that high off the water.
Hey,
Hey, Joy.
what's up?
We're back.
The laser was 6 feet up in the air, and we had to use this
What?
board to mark it. It was cool when we went to the laser.
The lake is clearly not flat.
So I think we should make some more measurements for sure.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, totally.
My volunteers have discovered the lake is not flat. But in order to measure the whole world, they will need some new tools.
Okay, let's get this box open.
All right.
Yeah.
Hey, what do we have here?
Tripod.
It's like a tripod.
Now, instead of a laser, a telescope will enable our volunteers to look in a straight line to the lake's opposite shore.
We're wondering, okay, how we're going to get this next point if it's so high it's past our board.
Whoa!
Very cool.
Are we getting in a helicopter?
Just as the telescope replaces the laser, a helicopter takes the place of the boat.
All right, we'll go ahead and lift off.
This is exciting.
I love that there are no doors. The lake looks completely flat from up here.
If they are twice as far away as before, how much lower will the far shore of the lake appear to be?
I got him. Yeah, I have you on the telescope. Go ahead and land. As it lands, it completely disappears from my line of sight.
Can you see us landing?
The reports from the helicopter, they're still flying. But I can't see it. This is crazy.
We have landed in our position.
Okay, Joy, go ahead and lift off.
They plan to ascend until Jim can see them on the horizon, then they'll tell him their altitude.
Let me know when you can see us on spot of the horizon.
I got him.
All right, Brian, how many feet are we above the lake?
24 feet.
Woo! 24 feet.
24 feet. Awesome.
At 6 miles, the lake has fallen 4 times lower than before. So what is going on? The green line shows the path of the laser and the view from the telescope. And the gold line shows how the data points form the beginning of a curve.
So that means this lake isn't flat.
It's not even close.
No.
That's crazy.
I'll never look at a lake the same way. I'll never look at a big body of water the same way now that I know it's following the curvature of the Earth.
So we synchronized the liftoff and landing at the exact moment the helicopter crosses the horizon. Nothing has been altered, and the official time code of the full program is given. The helicopter here is about to descend below the horizon, and the helicopter here is about to crest the horizon and enter our line of sight. The waves of the lake in both scenes are identical, and the helicopter is not. The same bird flies the same path in both scenes. These scenes are trick photography and not true recordings.
I got him. As it lands, it completely disappears from my line of sight. Right now.
These are the same scenes with extra magnification.
It worked. I'm not a scientist, and to be able to just do that off a whim and it just came to me, that was That was incredible. My name is Kat Bobineau, and I am a scientist. It worked. I'm not a scientist, and to be able to just do that off a whim, and it just came to me, that was incredible. I received my master's in biology at Cal State East Bay in Hayward, California. I was offered an internship at KQED, which is a PBS channel. I was also able to do an internship at the University of Alabama in herpetology, where I worked with the diamondback water snake, the python. 2 years later, I got another internship in neurobiology at the University of Vermont. There, I studied 3-day-old chicken embryos, in which I would cut the shell open and take out the neural tube. I admire Bill Nye the Science Guy, Carl Sagan for the work he did with Cosmos, and Dr. Neil deGrasse Tyson for his continual work with the Cosmos Show, Dr. Stephen Hawking with his perseverance and teaching us physics and all about the universe. You can check me out on television with a cat nose, on YouTube with In the Know with Kat Bobineau, and at my website, katbobineau.com. I'm Kat Bobineau, and I am a scientist. I'm not a scientist, and to be able to just do that off a whim, and it just came to me.
The volunteers don't know it. I've asked 3 ordinary people, so with the help of a few ordinary people.
Our journey leads to nasa.gov. Oh, this is serious. Yes, it is. Working at NASA in the director's office, such as Joy does, is not ordinary at all. Throughout the entire article, much of which we're skipping over, Joy details her status as a masterclass cinematographer, a self-professed science storyteller, and in her own words, by science storytelling, I don't mean fictional storytelling.
As it lands, it completely disappears from my line of sight.
I mean placing science research in context with, for example, what we know, what we don't know, and why it matters. The laser is moved during the survey after establishing the 500-foot-long level with the first position, but before measuring at the 3-mile position. Altering the laser nullified the known level, and without re-establishing the level, any measurement cannot knowingly be accurate. Yet you and every other observer is deliberately misled. The camera crew conspired, world-acclaimed physicist and Presidential Medal of Freedom bearer Stephen Hawking conspired, the director's office of NASA conspired, and had the trick cinematographer not planted a secret message, the visual documentation is indistinguishable from truth. The laser moved more than once. The size and height changed directly after checking level at the 500-foot position and before leaving for the 3-mile position.
For the next measurement, they'll need to go much further out.
Okay, so now I need to go 3 miles away from the laser.
All right.
Awesome!
We're told that Joy is actually specially selected and had instructions that were secret, not known to the other participants, that she wasn't supposed to say what they'd be doing. She knew what they'd be doing on the shoot, and that they wanted to capture their genuine reactions. None of these are genuine reactions!
The reports from the helicopter, they're still flying. But I can't see it. To wrap your head around it in that short a time was a little difficult for me. I was like, this is crazy.
Tens of millions of people saw this survey and it became reality to them. And then people saw clips online and people shared by word of mouth. About 500 million people watched Apollo 11, and that's only including the very first broadcast. The Stephen Hawking program aired on June 1st, 2016. Kat Bobineau is a scientist in March of 2016, about 2.5 months before she claimed not to be a scientist.
I still have a hard time wrapping my head around the fact that we measured the Earth at that lake.
I'll never look at a lake the same way. I'll never look at a big body of water the same way now that I know it's following the curvature of the Earth.
You had the laser, the boat, the telescope, and the helicopter. These people literally create dollars out of thin air. It's not about dollars. We've become domesticated livestock marching towards the slaughterhouse.
I don't really need to hear what you're trying to provide. I want to know how you're dealing with all these conspiracy theorists on your platform.
So the first way is by demoting low-quality content and promoting more authoritative content, and the second is by providing more transparency for users. So we're introducing boxes that provide factual information at the top of results that have shown themselves to turn up a lot of information that is counterfactual, such as searching for the Earth is flat on YouTube, where you see a lot of...
Your response is to put a box saying, nope, the Earth is not flat.
Correct.
Okay.
Of course, she didn't mention the actual strategy is a Trojan horse.
A few years back, the Discovery Channel had a program where they used lasers and telescopes to show that the surface of a large lake was curved due to the curvature of the Earth.
Let me know when you can see us on spots of the horizon. All right, Brian, how many feet are we above the lake?
24 feet.
The Flat Earth proponents responded to this program with a series of videos on YouTube.
I'm going to go with CGI on that whole helicopter thing, because people would say, oh, look, well, what do you mean it's CGI? You saw the helicopter, that doesn't make it real.
All of which supposedly show errors made by the people behind the Discovery Channel program. What drives this sort of stubborn refusal to deal with reality? Part of the problem is that even the simplest demonstrations, like Wallace's or the Discovery Channels, require careful preparation and specialized equipment. Not everybody has access to a helicopter and a telescope to do these sorts of tests. That's often a complaint that the Flat Earth people make. They need to personally experience the evidence rather than trusting the measurements of other people.
We're heading to the largest lake in California to meet the Independent Investigations group, and they want to do a round Earth test, basically a test that will prove that the Earth is not flat, but that it is round. James, how are you?
Okay,
so what's happening here right now?
Okay, this is the boat-based target. It's horizontal stripes. We're going to launch a small boat out into the water here with a striped target.
One way that Aristotle proved 2,000 years ago that the Earth is a sphere was with a boat test. As a boat approaches the horizon, it appears to slowly dip down into the water before disappearing completely.
So it'll be a very visual depiction of the curvature of the Earth.
So it's starting?
Yeah.
Okay, so the test is starting. It's starting right now.
At first, all the stripes are clearly visible. But sure enough, as the boat reaches the horizon, the stripes begin to disappear one by one.
The horizon and surface of the water is beyond the boat. That means the boat is not behind any Earth curvature. The bottom stripe here has a little bit of red hue to it.
You got body, you got style, you got body.
One by one.
It's pretty amazing. You can actually see it pretty clearly with this camera here. And you see that the red stripe that was at the bottom has completely disappeared, and it's now getting closer to sort of the middle green stripe, that is.
So we've lost about 1.5 stripes.
Right. So this can only happen why?
Because of the curvature of the Earth.
So after learning the director's office of NASA is actively counterfeiting science, we went out and measured what the surface shape of water really is for everyone. This is the light of the snow machine, 10.3 miles away. My camera is only 2.25 feet above the surface. That is 40 feet of spherical surface not blocking our view at all. The bottom of our laser hit about 1.5 feet above the surface of the lake. There is no Earth curvature between our laser and that snow machine.
Dit is het moment. Krijg tijdelijk tot €400 korting per persoon op jouw last-minute vakantie. Je bent toe.
One of the other lands in our realm that is heavily restrictive on our travel and exploration. They tell us there's nothing in the North Pole, just ice sheets. But looking back at hundreds of old world maps depicting something much different than we've been told, all showing the same 4 islands with a mysterious black rock mountain in the middle, said to be a magnetic mountain. And not only are they depicting the same land, but they say they were inhabited. Just look at some of the descriptions, even a Tartarian village. The famous cartographer Mercator in 1577 wrote a letter to a friend in England describing the North as this: in the midst of the 4 countries is a whirlpool, into which there empties these 4 indrawing seas, which divide the North, and the water rushes round and descends into the earth, just as if one were pouring it through a filter funnel. It is 4 degrees wide on every side of the pole, that is to say 8 degrees altogether, except that right under the pole there lies a bare rock in the midst of the sea. And it was far from just one cartographer. Chinese, Japanese, the world over were showing us the same. These cartographers at the time, jobs and reputations depended on their accuracy. They weren't just going to repeat something unverified for centuries. There has been many detailed lands in this realm that have been erased, not just the North Pole, but places like Friesland. But what do you think, signs of a reset or cartographers copying each other? Question everything, friends. Until next time.
3, 2, 1. That sounds